Ideas on their own aren't inherently that valuable. Just because you had the idea to do it and you set it in motion, I mean, that's great. That's step one. But to be able to actually follow through on it and to get it done, that is very, very unique. I'm Michael Mogill, founder and CEO of Crisp, the nation's #1 law firm growth company. I've built my business through practice, not theory. Crisp started with just $500 to my name and has grown to over 8 figures in revenue over the last few years, earning a spot on the Inc. 500 list of the fastest growing private companies in America. Our approach has been to take everything we've learned about generating massive growth within our own organization and help the country's most ambitious and committed law firm owners do the same for theirs. In each episode of this podcast, I sit down with innovative market leaders from the legal industry and beyond to learn from those who thrive in the face of adversity, challenge the status quo, and define what it means to be a true game changer.
This is Jessica, Head of Coaching Strategy at Crisp, and today we're flipping the script for another special edition episode to get Michael's take on how to make high-stakes decisions when there's no clear right answer, the crucial difference between moving fast and moving impulsively, and how to make a tough call even when your team isn't on board.
You've got to be able to make the final call. At the end of the day, you can get the information, they provide you with their perspective, they can make a compelling argument, but then you got to decide.
That's coming up on the Game Changing Attorney podcast. Here we are, AMMA, another one.
We're back.
We're back. We have something so exciting to talk about today.
Oh yeah. Just came off a pretty great weekend.
Yeah. For the first time ever, Michael was at home alone with both children for 24 hours.
So let's tee this up, Jessica. So you went on a well-deserved kind of like a spa weekend. And I said, you know what? I'm going to have a great daddy-daughter weekend with these two kids, the 4-year-old and the 6-year-old. So, and again, my goal also was no iPads, no screen time, nothing. Like, we're going to have fun. So I loaded up the Amazon cart, got all sorts of like puzzles, games, like board games, a Lego set.
It was better than Christmas and Hanukkah combined.
Oh yeah. We're going to make a core memory. And I think back, like, you know, because you asked me, what was your favorite memory from the weekend?
Yeah.
And I gave you the heartfelt one, which was, you know, every time we would do like bedtime, I do it with them together and like both girls, and we'd read a story, and it was just great, right? Like but that was the heartfelt one. My other favorite moment that I did not share with you was at one point, and this was on, this was a Saturday afternoon, and the youngest child, Misha, so I'm making her milk, and there's instructions for how to make the milk for this child. So it's like 1/3 this type of milk, and then like a 1/4 scoop of protein powder, then a 1/4 scoop of like the GI, like, yes. You know, that
Let's
stuff.
Let's just clarify that she's got some allergies.
She's got allergies,
yes,
so the DHA, I'm like loading it up, I'm like shaking. It's like, it's great, like to precision, effective. You know, it's amazing. And I go to bring it to her, and she loves her milk, but then she looks at me and says, no. And I said, why not? And apparently I put it in the Moana cup, and she wanted it in the other princess cup, the Elsa cup, and she would not drink it. And my first thought was like, girl, do you know who you're talking to? Number one. But what did I do?
No, you didn't.
I went, I did not pour it out. I said, okay, no problem. Went and got the other cup, poured it into the other cup, then brought it to her, and then she's like, okay, great, right? And the whole time, this child ran the show. For this entire weekend, the entire time, Misha ran the show. It was funny. We were playing Hungry Hungry Hippos, and there's all these like red balls, and then there's one yellow ball, and the yellow ball is worth like extra points or something, and it comes in this tin. So they're like, the hippos are gobbling these things up, and the yellow one goes missing, and we couldn't find it all day long because I was trying to put the whole, the set back together. We we're putting it away, and we found all like the red marbles, but we're looking for the yellow one. And I'm like, where's the yellow one, girls? And they're acting like they can't find it. Nothing, right? We do bedtime that night. And after I read, The Lion King again for the 18th time, I say, hey, do you girls know what that, yellow marble is? Like, the oldest has no idea. The youngest one smiles. And I'm like, Misha, did you take it? And she's not saying it. She said, no, first of all. She said, no. And I said, Misha, I see you smiling. Did you take that yellow marble? And then she like pulls it out. She's been holding on to that thing the whole day. Of course, right? So it was a great weekend. Obviously, a lot of fun, core memory. I even asked them, I was like, girls, you want to do it again? And the first thing was, I think the oldest for sure wants to do it again.
Oh, for sure. She's daddy's girl.
Yeah. The youngest came around too. They had a lot of fun. We got a bunch of pictures, videos. It was just nonstop. And I loved it. They're great kids, like as we know, considering that, we're home with them all the time. So the lesson there, what's the takeaway?
No one in this world can talk to you the way those two girls talk to you.
That is, yes, undeniable.
Yes.
Undeniable.
Yes, that's one takeaway.
Yeah. Maybe the other one is that's the true definition of success. Like when you can spend like your time with your kids and they love being around you and they're laughing and they're smiling. We're just the whole day flew by. Like it did not feel like a long day.
Yeah.
And then maybe next time we'll talk about the dog we got.
Yeah.
The
world
robot
needs
dog.
to know about this dog.
Yeah, the robot dog. That's coming next time. Let's jump into these questions. This is the AMMA. You guys submit your questions. You text us at 404-531-7691. We answer them on the show. And if we make you laugh, we make you cry, if we add some sort of value, maybe, fast forward past the story. A lot of people tell us they like those openers, the opening hooks, right? We hook them for the episode. You can go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave us a review, and this helps us reach more people. So Jessica, what do we have this week? What questions do we got?
All right. Question number 1. Michael, I've been running my personal injury firm for 7 years, and we're at a critical growth point. I'm facing a major decision about expanding into a new practice area that could significantly increase our revenue, but it would require a substantial investment and might distract from our core business. I've analyzed the numbers endlessly, but I'm still torn. What do you do when there's no clear right answer? Is there ever a right answer?
I mean, I was just going to say, like, welcome to the life of a CEO.
Yeah.
I mean, every day there's no clear right answer. If there was a clear right answer, then everybody would want the job.
Yeah.
But nobody wants the job. Those that know what it entails,
yeah.
I don't know how many people say they want to be the CEO. I don't want the job, right? So I look at it, when you don't have a right answer, it's really just considering things. So there's a couple things I picked up on in the question where there was some ambiguity. It could have high upside, but it could also distract from the core of the business. So you have to weigh that of upside versus potential distraction. Add complexity into an organization. It can also impact growth. Like, do you need a distraction right now, or do you need to double down on your core area of the firm itself and scale that? I'm generally not one for adding new things until you've maximized the value of the existing thing, right? In the existing business, because otherwise it just becomes like squirrel, right? And then before you know it, you have like 8 open loops and different things in motion. And I always used to chuckle when people would say that they have like multiple revenue streams.
Oh, yeah.
It was always broke people saying this. They got, I got eight streams of income.
Passive income.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, well, so you got like 8 businesses. And what's the saying about the saying is that income made through concentration, wealth through diversification. But generally, the idea is that you make your money by focusing deeply in one area and going all in. And then the preservation is through diversification. That's what it is.
There you go.
Okay?
Yeah.
To Asians, vacation, animation,
multiplication.
That was good. Okay, so if it's the kind of thing that you just gotta do, then you can look at this. Bill Perkins talks about it in his book Die with Zero, of regret minimization, and thinking about 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 40 years from now, am I going to regret not doing this? Because not everything has to have always like a financial upside. Sometimes it's just like you want to be able to go down the path to have that experience. And the good news is, because you own the business, you get to do whatever you want and you get to make whatever decision. I would just evaluate that decision in the context of, if you feel like it's going to be a distraction, like if you ever have that feeling up front, then that's usually a sign that perhaps that's not so great of an idea. Because anytime I get the sense that something could be a distraction, I put a stop to it immediately. Because I don't like distractions.
Right.
And I don't think they're good for organizations. I think it's good to keep people focused and aligned. And maybe there's a way to pursue this opportunity at a later date when it would not be a distraction. Because the fact that it's a distraction probably implies that there's split focus at the moment, and there's maybe limitations on people's bandwidth and capacity. So for them to do one more thing could potentially put other things in jeopardy. So I would just evaluate it through that lens of essentially what's going to be the potential downside versus the upside. And we've talked about this decision-making framework in the past. And yes, it could have a lot of great opportunity and it could have a lot of great upside. But if the upside is financial, then you have to look at, okay, what if the downside is stress, headaches, etc. And what is more valuable to you today? Money or stress and problems, the reduction of that. So it could vary. I mean, every situation is different. This comes back to rock and a hard place, and then sometimes you just got to make a decision. My advice is if you feel like it's going to be a distraction up front, reevaluate.
All right, question number 2. Michael, I've been listening to your podcast for years and finally have a question. I run an immigration firm of 15 and I'm feeling like I just can't catch a break lately. I want to be more innovative and bet bigger, so this past year I launched a podcast, hired a marketing director, and signed a lease on a bigger office, but things aren't going the way I thought. Each move seemed like the right call at the moment. I saw an opportunity and jumped on it. My partner says the problem is that I'm moving too fast, but I feel like as a business owner, you have to decide quickly and move fast. What is your take?
For sure. So this is actually, I'm really glad you put this question here, like after that, the one we just answered, because this is what happens when the first person is on amphetamines and it just goes nuts.
And everything is exciting. And
exactly. They just go. Right. Yes. Like speed and decisiveness is most definitely an advantage. However, and this is like where nuance comes in, where like sometimes you overcorrect. Like, yes, and betting big is great and thinking big is great. I mean, we advocate for that all the time because the alternative is thinking small. But that does not advocate for impulsivity in favor of good judgment. So just because you can doesn't always mean that you should. So it's like, yeah, let's start a podcast. Let's hire this person. Let's do this. Let's expand our office. Let's do it all at the same time. And it's not to say that any one of those ideas is a bad idea. Like, I don't know your business. I mean, it may be an idea. Like, the reason to buy a building could be, maybe you want to expand capacity in terms of room for your team. Maybe it's a play in terms of having something where you can serve your clients. And I mean, who knows? I don't know the reasoning for the building. It could be an investment. So without that context, it's hard to say whether that was the right decision or the wrong decision. And in the lens of all of these different things, if it supported your vision and you evaluated it and you were in a place where like, we cannot achieve this vision in the time frame that we wish to achieve it without making this decision, then it was probably the right decision. But just because you make a decision doesn't automatically make it a successful decision. So meaning that, let's say you buy the building, well, then you got to leverage the building. Let's say you launch a podcast, well, now you've got to grow the podcast. Let's say, you're hiring additional people. You still have to train those people, onboard those people, make sure that the time to value is right. So you still got to make it work. And I remember one of our most like hectic years was, 2021? And this is right where we had so many things happening at the exact same time. We bought the building in March of 2020, so it was opening.
Yep.
In 2021. I think it was like, May, something like that. Around the same time, like a month before our second child was born.
Yep.
And at the same time, the month later in June, we were hosting a virtual conference with 5,000 people in it. And it wasn't like, a conference on Zoom. It was, we had the whole stage at the office. Like we had like that 360, like, it was a whole production.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we were already planning the in-person summit later that year. So we were doing 2 conferences in the same year, while also rolling out new offerings. I think it was the team training CRISP experience, like we were introducing that into our ecosystem. There was just a lot that was going on, and moving our entire team into the office, and then workshops are going to be taking place, I think, a month later, right?
Yeah.
So all of that was happening at once. A very, very, very hectic time, very stressful time. And I look back at that period and I'm glad we did it, but we had to find a way to make it all work. It was very, very painful, right? Like without a doubt, that was a very painful period of time. But just making those decisions to do them did not mean that we still weren't accountable for making it work. Steve Jobs had a quote, and I'll paraphrase it roughly, where he said that the people with the ideas are like the ones that actually get things to move forward are the combination of this unique person where they have both the idea and they actually have the execution piece behind it as well. Ideas on their own aren't inherently that valuable. Like just because you had the idea to do it and you set it in motion, I mean, that's great. That's like step one.
Yeah.
But to be able to actually follow through on it and to get it done in a way that actually is successful, like whatever the definition of success is for that, for that initiative, I mean, that is very, very unique. And if you're doing that with multiple things at the exact same time, just know that the difficulty curve for that goes up. So if you did just one of these things, you could have focused on making one of these things successful. And if you do 5 things at the exact same time, even if they're all good ideas, it doesn't guarantee that all 5 are going to be executed to the standard that it needs to be executed.
Most likely.
And will be successful. It's like as you add things, complexity increases, like especially if you're doing things at the exact same time.
Yes.
Complexity increases and pain increases. And I don't know how you approached executing on these things, but it sounds like it wasn't very good considering the fact that like things are struggling now. But it shouldn't discourage you from thinking big and betting big. That wasn't necessarily the problem. I think the problem was that you made the bet without also thinking about how do we execute on this bet. And I'm always thinking like when we're going to do something, it's okay, yes, we're going to make this decision, but where is our capacity for being able to execute on it, and where is the bandwidth for it? And in my younger days, I would just be like, oh, we're going to figure it out later, right? And that created a lot of stress and pain. And that I think that's fine, especially early on in a business. But if you're going to do 5 things at the exact same time, you really have to understand how much pain that could be and how much stress that could be, because you're not just building the plane on the way down. And on the way down is the way up. On the way down.
No, you're building the plane while you're flying.
You're building the plane while you're flying.
Well, hopefully it's not going down.
Yes. But that's what's happening here, right? It is going down, and you're still building all these different things. So maybe the lesson here is just to be able to scale back a little bit on how many things you're doing at the exact same time, and build that infrastructure, which will then help you build that, the momentum, and then as a result, the confidence to be able to place bigger bets, because then they start to compound. Like we didn't start when our first conference. The first one wasn't Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Correct.
Right? Like that was not the first one, right? We had the first one at the Intercontinental Hotel, and I think we had 500 people, right? We didn't say, hey, we're going to go 5,000 people.
Right. Not from the
jump.
So
you have to scale up to it. And we didn't start, even that year we talked about 2021, that was almost 10 years into the business. So we developed a lot of infrastructure up to that point. Still painful though.
All right, and to round us out today, Michael, I respect how you've built Crisp and have doubled down on growth over the years. Here's my situation. I have an amazing opportunity to acquire another law firm that would not only double my case inventory, but would make us more competitive overnight. It's got very high upside, but my team is divided on this. Many are worried about potential culture clash. How do you weigh input from others with your own decision-making?
Well, where do we begin here?
Not all feedback is created equal. Let's start with that.
Correct. Not all feedback is equal. So you have an opportunity to acquire another law firm, basically absorb their case inventory, and this would make you more competitive, and for no other reason than you're probably eliminating a competitor in the marketplace, although we don't know if this firm is a competitor. But you're worried about your team essentially assimilating with the firm that you're acquiring and the potential culture clash. Well, it comes down to, one, what's the true upside? If you're going to double your case inventory and you feel like you have a strong opportunity, it's definitely worth considering. As far as like evaluating feedback, it really just comes down to who's going to be doing the assimilating. Like who's going to be like actually having to figure this out and in doing the work. And then also, again, coming back to what is the long-term vision for the firm? Like, how do you get there? Is this one of the necessary steps in order to get there, right? Like, if the goal is to be able to grow and impact X number of people, and you're saying it over this amount of, this period of time, and this is a way to make that happen, then yeah, you should absolutely consider it. The real way to look at it, and I've been trying to like dance around this answer, but I'll just give it, is that it's what type of feedback should you not consider? Mm-hmm. Because it's really coming down to like you as the owner of the firm, you take on all of the risk. And when you started the firm, you made a decision that you were going to bet on you. And then you brought in additional people to help you make that vision a reality, like whether it's, expanding the amount of work the firm can do, bringing in new skill sets, etc. But if you still feel like this is the right thing to do, but your team tells you no, then one of two things is happening. Either they know things that you do not, and they have information that you do not, in which case you should absolutely figure out like, well, why shouldn't we? Maybe there's a compelling reason not to do it, and they could inform you and it can prevent you from making a big mistake. Or there's not really a compelling reason not to do it outside of the fact that people don't like change, and you will be essentially delegating decision-making for your future and the future of your law firm to people who are not carrying the risk that you're carrying. The stakes are not the same for them, just objectively.
Yeah.
Right? And whenever I see firm owners say, I got to get buy-in from my team, I always ask, well, what happens if you don't get the buy-in, but it's still the right thing to do?
Yeah.
And when they say, I just wouldn't do it, it makes me very sad. It makes me sad because they're enabling somebody whose name is not on the building to dictate their future when the very reason they went and started a firm was to bet on their own decision making.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes it's like an out, but imagine asking people who have obviously very, very different motivations or may not be aligned. Like maybe they don't care about growing the firm. Maybe they don't care about making this greater impact. Maybe all they care about is essentially making it home in time to watch The Bachelor. And this firm acquisition could put that in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Or maybe all they care about is job security, and they worry that if you bring in all these new people, there could be some really good ones in the mix, and it could potentially make them feel less valuable. But if you buy into that, well, is it the right decision for the future of the firm as a whole? And I find that those that always listen to what their team asks, like you said, not all feedback's created equal. Sometimes there's people who offer really, really, really great insight. They care deeply about the firm. Like I said, what I'm sharing here does not go for everyone.
Right.
But you've got to be able to make the final call.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like you can get the information. They provide you with their perspective. They can make a compelling argument, but then you got to decide. Like the takeaway here is you make the decision. Don't let somebody else make that decision for you. Now, there's a lot of things that I feel strongly about, and then the team will bring certain things to my attention. I will get certain information and be like, you know what? They're right. And as a result, here's what we're going to do. Alternatively, there's times where I get certain information and I say, okay, we're obviously going to do something opposite to that. But here's why. And because my priority, number one of all things, is for the business to remain competitive, to ensure stability and security for our team, and results for our clients. That's my priority. My priority is not to make any one individual happy. My priority is not to essentially have 100% approval rating. It is to ensure that we have stability and security for our team that are like dedicated and committed. Like some of them like relocated their lives here, like to Atlanta. Like their livelihoods depend on this. They have families, they have children, they're buying homes, etc. Like so, we have to make decisions for the entire organization as a whole, and that requires evaluating what is best for the team. And similarly, we have thousands of clients that trust in us and have made a commitment to partner with us, and we make a promise that then we have to fulfill on that promise to help them grow and to help them succeed. So when I'm making a decision, I have to consider all of those lenses, not, hey, should we really upgrade the coffee machine today? Is this the thing that is going to dictate our future right now? Because we got a pretty good coffee machine. What is it? We got like what is it called? The Jura. But they tell me there's a nicer one. So when you say no and you make that person sad, well, we're going to make the decisions that help us remain competitive,
yes,
and grow and have stability long-term for the organization to the best of our judgment.
Yeah.
To the best of our judgment. And like I said, sometimes this goes the other way where the team shares things with me that they're absolutely 1,000% right. And without that context, I would have been wrong.
Yeah.
So it's important to get the information, but the most important thing is you make the final decision.
Yeah.
You're like
you
the judge.
own it. Yeah.
You know,
so
you're the judge, you're the jury
of your law firm,
and you're the motherfucking executioner. And that just got us the explicit rating we were after for this episode.
And I will see you next time.
All right, until next time.
You've been listening to the Game Changing Attorney podcast with Michael Mogill. If you found this episode valuable, here are 3 free ways that we can help you grow your law firm. Number 1, download the first chapter of Michael's book absolutely free at GameChangingAttorney.com. Number 2, you can shoot Michael a text at 404-531-7691 and ask him any question you'd like. You might just hear the answer on the next episode. And finally, number 3, if you can leave this podcast a 5-star review, it will help us gain access to more influential thought leaders and bring their lessons learned here to you. For more information on this episode, see the show notes in your podcast app or visit legalpodcast.com.